Hello folks, welcome to el canal Channel Jose. Today we're going to give you an idea how you can diagnose if a light bulb is burnout or it could be something else. So today's day, most of the replacements like light bulbs and all that kind of stuff is a little bit more expensive, and it's hard to return once you install it because there are components that they can go bad. So there's a problem on returning stuff that you already have installed. So we're gonna give you an idea how you can check for a bad light bulb without spending money on buying the new one. We have bought the new one because we already know that this headlight doesn't work. So this is a seal beam and this is a low and high in the same one, and neither one works. So it put us into the question if it's the light bulb or the headlight or it's electrical problem. So we had to diagnose it before we went and bought a light bulb. So we're gonna give you an explanation. We're gonna expose on how you can test for a light bulb, so that way you don't spend money if it could be an electrical or a headlight. And with that, let's get started. So as we can see, the headlight on the driver's side is working. So we're gonna switch it to the high beams and see if the passenger side works, and it doesn't work. So we have a problem on the high and low beam on the other side of on the passenger side. Driver side is working properly, passenger side we having an issue. So sometimes it's really hard to diagnose a problem when you don't have the high and low beam working on one side. So that keeps you in a question mark on why both headlights or both high and low is not coming on. So it could be a short on the wiring, a fuse, or what can it be? So for this, what you can do, the most basic stuff that you can do is you can switch headlights and see if where the headlight that didn't work, once you put the one that on the side that was working on the other side, and if it turns on, then you know that the headlight is not working because the light bulb is burned out. So now you can buy a headlight or a light bulb and put it on. But if you start buying a headlight and it costs you a lot of money, and then you install it and you find out that it wasn't working at all, and now you install it, now you have to spend more money on something that didn't need to be replaced. So now with that, by replacing sides, you can diagnose if it's the light bulb or it's just a wiring. So another thing you can use is a multimeter to test the power on the other side that is not working and see if you have any readings without taking the headlights out. So we're gonna diagnose the two ways, the basic stuff, so you don't spend money on parts and find out that you didn't need to spend money on that. So let's troubleshoot the headlight. So now what we're going to be doing is we're going to disconnect the passenger side headlight, and we're going to be using the new headlight as a reference, like if we were using the driver's side as a tryout. So imagine that this is the driver's side headlight and we're trying it on the passenger side headlight just to test if there's any power or no power. So if that one headlight working on the driver's side turns on here, that means that the headlight's off. So let's use this as being the driver's side headlight here. Now that we put the light bulb from the driver's side on the passenger side and this headlight turns on, that means that there's power coming into this headlight, but the headlight is burned out. So now we can put this back on the driver's side, go buy a new headlight and put it on the passenger side. So then we know that the wiring of the fuse is not bad. So we are now for sure that the headlight is burned out. So we buy a new headlight, put the one in the driver's side, and buy a new headlight for the burnout one. So this is one way to find out if your headlight is burned out without spending money on equipment that you don't need to spend. So now what we can do is we can use our multimeter, and then what we can do is you can test for power right at the connector to see if there's power coming and there's power to here, but the light bulb is not doing anything. So you want to find out if there's power up to there. So for us, we'll use the multimeter and find out if that light bulb is not working because there's no power, or is the light bulb. So we're gonna turn it on and see if there's power, because sometimes by switching headlights might be really hard because the axis. So that way you can use a multimeter on the socket and test for power. That's another way. So you can turn it on and see and test for power now. Before we start, what we can do is we get our multimeter, and then what we do is we start testing in DC direct current. we test the battery first. We test the positive and the negative, and we get a reading with our multimeter, 12.21 volts. So if we don't get any reading from here, we might even have a bad multimeter, so we might get even thrown out because we don't have a right equipment or working equipment. So that's why you always test your equipment also before you start testing for power. So now that we know that we got voltage in the battery, this guy is reading it. Now this guy should read the voltage at the connector. So now that we connect our multimeter to the headlight connector, we are getting 11.72 voltage. So that means that there's voltage up to the headlight, but the headlight is not turning on. So we're verifying that there's power all the way to this connector. So now that we know that there's power here and this light bulb is burned out, now we can replace it. Now that we have verified that the light bulb or the headlight is not working properly or is burned out, because we used the multimeter and we even swapped the headlights to see if there was a problem on the wiring or the headlight, and now we found out that headlight is the problem. Now we can go buy one and replace it. That way we don't spend money on the stuff that we don't need to replace. So now that we have bought our new headlight and we have put it on, and then it took us a while to take everything off. Before you start putting all the plastics and everything on, make sure that headlight turns on before you start moving on. So now that we know that the headlight is working properly, now we can put everything back on. So that way if something happened between the installation of the headlight and the headlight didn't come on, you put everything back on, and then you turn the headlight on and didn't come on, then you don't want to find out that after you have put all the plastics and all the effort and work into it once it's not turning on. That's why verify that works once you install a new piece. That way you start putting everything back on. And well, folks, this is a really cheap method that you can troubleshoot if the headlight is working or not working, or is a wiring bad in the system. So that way you don't spend money on headlights that are not needed to be replaced because you find out that it's not a headlight, it's a wiring. So that way you can do simple troubleshooting like this. So that way you can save your money and not start spending money like this. So for us, this headlight, it was about $19, but we troubleshooted and it came up to be the headlight. That way we went and bought it, and that's why we are installing it and replacing it. But some other headlights, if you spend a lot of money and it's not a problem, you're going to spend a lot of money and then you're going to have a hard time trying to return the headlight because it's already been installed. So some places that might not even take it back because you already opened the package. So with that said, hopefully this video was useful and helpful. And for folks who are watching our video and haven't subscribed to our channel, please subscribe. If you like our video, give us thumbs up, share it, and we'll see you soon with more videos here en el canal de Chano Jose.